Good evening, everybody. I'm so excited to be able to do this live. It's been a long time coming. Today, I'm going to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while, and I've been getting many phone calls from families saying that they want to get a dog and that they have many questions, that their kids want a dog, and they want to know if this is the right time for them, or whether they should get it or they should not get it. So today we're going to talk about if you should get a dog, if you're thinking about getting it, and if you have any questions. So if you have any questions about whether you should get a dog or any animal, this is the place to ask it. I will be talking about some questions that were asked prior, and I'm going to share it here. If you have any additional questions, I will definitely address them. So my name is Avi. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and I work with families, with kids, with couples. And one of the unique things that I do in my practice is I work with animals. With people. So currently I have 3 dogs. I have golden retrievers. I have 2 parrots. They're exotic parrots. I also have tarantulas. They're spiders. And I also have a bunny and a cat. So I have a whole bunch of different animals in my house that I work with clients on a daily basis. They go to hospitals. They go to nursing homes. They go to daycares. They go to schools. Even college campuses. So I've been involved with this, I would say, for about 6 years, and I absolutely love it. This is my passion, and I'm here to talk to you today about what I've learned through the journey, because I've done a lot of research, I've read a lot of books, and I've experienced it myself. So first off, let's talk about why I use animals and how animals can be helpful. Because when I work with my clients and they see the difference it brings to their kids' lives or even to their lives in session, they say, my child also wants a therapy dog or a therapy animal, and should I get one? So first off, I'm going to tell you like this. Yes, animals are phenomenal. It's an amazing, incredible thing in my practice that I've seen, animals helping humans heal from trauma, from emotional distress. But what I will tell you is with that comes a tremendous amount of work, but what I will say is, there's nothing good that comes to life without putting work. Think about if you have a business now, right? Or if you bought a house, or if you did something of substance, that took a lot of effort and a lot of work. So having a dog, having any type of animal requires a lot of work. So we're gonna kind of break it down and talk about what you can do to see if this is a good fit for you. So number one, let's talk about a breed. So a lot of times people will tell me, whether it was, let's say, in Russia. Back in Russia, my family had a German Shepherd, and I have, a 6-7-year-old daughter, and I want to get her German Shepherd. Is it a good fit? Knowing, this is just one example, right? Knowing the breed of the dog is very important. Think about it this way. Every single type of dog has a different type of job, right? Just like a policeman helps people with issues that a policeman help with, right? Or a fireman helps people with fires, right? They each, or a person who does who's in sanitation business, they have their own type of things that they need to do, right? Just like they have their own set jobs, and we as we people, we know what their duties are. Same thing with the type of breed of dog. Every dog has in part of their DNA things that they're good at. For example, I have golden retrievers. Golden retrievers were generally bred to hunt and love to swim. There are dogs that are called Saint Bernards that are able to dig people out of 10 feet of snow. There are huskies who are used in Alaska to be able to mush and take people around the town while as transportation. And dogs that are great for herding, for sheep. So it's very important to know what type of breed of dog you want. In my experience, I can tell you that any dog is trainable. Of course, in some severe, serious cases, where you can train it without medication, yes, medication is something that vets can help with, but that's always, obviously, just like with humans, that's always the last resort. So, but what I want to tell you is, with the proper amount of time and patience, you can definitely train any type of dog. So, getting into this, knowing what kind of breed you want is very important. Personally, I have golden retrievers. I think they are incredible, amazing dogs, and a lot of times people ask me, why did you choose golden retrievers as therapy dogs in opposed to other breeds. Golden Retrievers happen to be one of the most easily trainable dogs. They are so eager to please, and they want to they want to make you happy, and that's, so having a dog that already has that type of disposition, it can be very easy to train a dog like that. Also, they have something called the golden smile, where you look at them, and when they're panting, they have a smile that looks that comes out. So that's very welcoming, right? So I love to have the golden retriever. Also, something called for sensory stimulation, which when you pet them, they have that fluffiness, which is great. However, with that said, they also shed a lot, so that's another thing. If you have a problem with shedding, or if you have a problem with allergies, this is something you need to be conscious of, because it can definitely affect your life. You have to, like, for example, I have 3 golden retrievers. I have to, my best friend is a broom, and I have to make sure to sweep a lot throughout the day to make sure I have a clean environment. That's very important as well. So there are dogs that don't shed. Like, for example, now they have something called golden doodles, which are great for people who don't like the hair, right? So that's something to consider. What you should know about before getting a dog is they require a tremendous amount of time, patience, and you have to be able to devote your life to them, because your schedule really revolves around their needs. That means if they have to go you have to walk them, then you have to be there for them. If you have to feed them, you have to be there for them. If you're going on vacation, you have to be able to shell out money for them, for getting a responsible person to watch them. These are all very important things to consider when getting any type of animal. So it's not just because your child wants it, so you go to the store and buy it for them. You have to understand that this is going to be your responsibility. It doesn't matter how old a child is. If a child is 7, 12, 15, it's in the end of the day, it's still the parent's duty to take care of the animal, whether it's vet bills, whether it's the cost of the food, whether it's making sure the dog has proper stimulation, proper walks, making sure the dog is healthy, grooming the dog. All these things need to fall into consideration before getting an animal. And then let's talk about money, right? How much money do you need to have an animal? It's not, it's interesting when people think about animals and the cost. They only think about how much it costs, the initial payment. Like, let's say the dog is $2,000, so they think about, so all I need is about $2,000 and a couple of $100 to get everything set up. That's not the case at all. If anything, that's the cheapest amount of money you need to be able to get an animal. Because think about it this way: every single month you have to buy food, you have to buy toys, you have to buy leashes, you have to buy harnesses, you have to get them treats. So there's definitely an expense for the lifespan of the dog, and also making sure to when you're not going to be there, whether you go on vacation or whether you're away, who's going to be able to be with the dog? Are you going to have to give them to boarding? Are you going to have to pay for grooming? So these are things that are very important. Another thing is also to understand that there's going to be a lot of adjustments that you're going to have to do in the house. For example, something that you need to know: dogs are allergic to chocolate. There was somebody that I know. One of her kids was eating chocolate, and they finished the ice cream. They were eating ice cream, and they finished the ice cream. It was chocolate ice cream. They finished it, and they put it by the TV, by where the couches are. There's a cup there, and they put it there. And one of the dogs actually jumped on top of the couch and started to lick off the residue of in the cup, and the dog ended up having to be hospitalized because it really got sick. So these are things that you have to be very mindful. A lot of times plants, if you like plants, many plants are poisonous to dogs. If let's say you're cooking in the kitchen and something falls on the floor, you have to be very mindful to make sure that's not poisonous, and you have to pick it up and throw it away into the trash. And I know these things seem so simple, but these things can be deadly to your animal. So a lot of the times people want to get an animal and think it's going to be a great addition, and then they end up being very disappointed. Also, what I want to tell you is like this: it's a journey. It takes, in my experience, about 2 full years to be able to connect to the dog, and for the dog to be able to bond with a family and get into the routine. Now, if you're a dog owner and you can tell me 2 years, what are you talking about? I had my dog within the first month. My dog really fell into routine and schedule, and that's perfect. That's great. But what I will tell you is I'm talking about no accidents. The dog is sleeping well throughout the night. The dog is not chewing shoes. The dog is not messing up your house. The dog is not doing any type of bad behavior. So it takes about 2 years for also developmentally for the dog to that puppy stage to diminish, right? You want to give them some time to develop. So that also requires a lot of patience. What I will tell you is, yes, it's the most amazing, incredible experience to have something furry and cuddly by your side, and there's a lot of scientific evidence that shows animals increase your health, and they diminish your blood pressure, and they decrease your stress, and then they can improve increase your levels of serotonin, which if you're dealing with depression, that can definitely help you. So there's absolutely a lot of benefits to it. But what I will tell you is you absolutely have to do your research, because this is not a simple thing. It's not a piece of furniture. This is a live creature. This is something that is going to require a lot of work. And yes, I know families that buy animals, that buy dogs, or buy any type of animal, and they have it for a week or 2 or 3, and then they end up returning it because they're like, oh my gosh, this required a lot of time and effort, and this is something that I didn't have. I didn't think it was going to take so much of my time. But understand that if you're making a decision like this is a long-term decision. This can absolutely be an amazing thing, but if you apply your time and energy and money, this can work out for you. And if you think that it's going to just learn on its own, or you're going to depend on your younger kids to take care of it, unfortunately, what I will tell you is that's not going to happen. So if you want to get it, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I will be more than happy to help you. What's another thing we have here? Your schedule. Yes, that's another thing that we need to talk about. Schedule is very important. A lot of times people work about 8 to 10 hours a day. They're out of the house. That's another thing. There is such a thing called separation anxiety. There is a thing where dogs can be depressed also. So knowing how to stimulate your dogs, perhaps even waking up an hour or two earlier in the morning, going for a nice long walk, making sure they're completely exhausted so they're good for the day, and then when you come back from work, making sure again you play with them so they have all that pent-up energy is out of their system. Just like with kids, and I work with a lot of kids who have, whether it's ADHD or difficulties controlling their feelings and emotions, and need an outlet to be able to release that. You have to be able to give that to children, right? Play is extremely important for kids. Just how play is important for kids, it's important for animals as well. They need to be stimulated. A good dog is a tired dog, but not only a tired dog because you walked with them so much. You also have to train them, by doing commands and different type of behaviors, and that's going to actually exhaust their brain, which is the most important. Anya asked the question, wanted to know where's the best place to get a therapy dog. Great question. I get this question all the time. Where's the best place to get a therapy dog? In all honesty, any dog can be a therapy dog. I want to explain this. This is the difference between, and I'm going to talk about this on my other lives. There's a difference. There's a therapy dog, an emotional support dog, and a service dog. A therapy dog is a dog that helps people, like, for example, going to hospitals, going to nursing homes, going to schools, helping kids, just feel more joy and comfort and excitement and happiness and calmness, right? That's what a therapy dog is for. There's something called an emotional support dog. This dog is generally meant for one person to help them deal with depression, anxiety, PTSD, stress, nervousness, when you feel alone and you need a buddy, even at night when you have insomnia and it's difficult for you to sleep, have somebody next to you to be able to cuddle. That actually helps many, many people. A lot of veterans, people who went to the army and have a lot of PTSD and have a difficult time living. These animals can save so many people. There are other dogs called service dogs. These dogs are primarily used for people with difficulties with mobility, whether it's whether it's difficulty getting a medication, right, from the fridge or from the closet. So a service dog is able to do that. If somebody has epilepsy, the service dog is able to alert and get some help, right? So knowing what type of dog you want. In order to get a therapy dog, you can really get any type of dog, but do the proper training. Another thing what I want to talk about is, just like with kids, if somebody went through a bad situation at home, they were abused, they were neglected, right? They're going to have trauma, right? They're going to have baggage, let's call it. Same thing with animals. Animals, in this case, are just like humans. If they had a very bad upbringing, if they were abused or something happened to them when they were puppies or just born, if they were in a puppy mill, or something happened to them, they may not qualify to be a good therapy dog because they have a lot of trauma. So this is something also to consider. My dog specifically, I had one dog who came from a line of therapy dogs and emotional support dogs, and she actually, her parents, Sophie, that's the dog that I have. Her parents were working with kids in foster care. And then I actually had puppies with this dog, and I kept two of the puppies, and now they also started to train at just 4 weeks old. We took them to nursing homes and we took them to schools, and we constantly had kids playing with them, so they were desensitized and they were socialized. So right now, where they're almost going to hit 2 years old, they go to hospitals every single day. They work with patients every single day. So they're so comfortable with wheelchairs and walkers and canes and strangers, and anybody can touch them, and they're completely friendly. It's all about desensitizing them and training them. So you can have, in order to have a therapy dog, it can be any type of breed, it can be any type of size, as long as it has proper behavior. Great question, by the way. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask, and I will be more than happy to answer. So we spoke about adjustments, making sure sometimes a person says, I want to get a dog, but I don't want to go into certain areas of my house. So what am I supposed to do? Very simple. You close them off. Creating, just like with humans, creating boundaries is very important. Same thing with animals. You need to be able to create those healthy boundaries. If you don't want your animals to come inside to a certain place, very simple. Get a puppy gate or train them not to come in there. If I don't want my dogs, let's say, to come inside the kitchen, I will tell them a command, let's say, back or stay. And that's what they'll do. So this is something very important to consider. Once again, this is my first live talking about animals and dogs. I've been noticing a lot of people have questions about animal care and whether they should get an animal for a child. I will tell you like this, based on my experience working with families, it can be an incredible tool. It can definitely teach responsibility. That's another big thing. I heard that parents are saying, I want my child to learn responsibility, so therefore I want to get them a pet. Getting them a pet like a dog is a very long-term commitment. You can get them a goldfish. It's a much shorter commitment, and it's a lot easier. But getting a dog is a lot of work. So know that you're going to be taking care of it. There's another question. Besides home training, where's the best place to get trained the dog for a person with special needs? How can we find a place to train the dog professionally? Great question, Anya. So there are trainers that will train your dog for a certain amount of money. There's two ways you can do it. You can buy a dog. First of all, I want to talk about buying a dog. Where do you buy a dog from? I personally will never buy a dog from a pet store. I would never do it because I don't know where the animal is coming from. Unfortunately, it's a very corrupted business where there's a lot of nonsense going on, and you never know where the animal is coming from unless it's a trusted person and you know them personally and they tell you it's coming from a reputable breeder. Then it's one thing. But so many cases, I can't even tell you, there's so many cases where I've worked with people and spoke to people and they said they got a dog from a pet store and they paid thousands of dollars in the beginning for vet bills, and there's something wrong with the dog and something didn't add up, and it was a real horror story. Yes, there are cases where people get dogs from pet stores or pets from pet stores, and it's amazing, and that's perfect, and I'm so happy for you. But in pet stores, we don't generally know where the animal comes from. So what I would say is, Number one thing, please get it from a reputable breeder. Get it from a breeder, because a breeder, and do your research. Go into the house, speak to the breeder, ask them the questions. What kind of food are you feeding? Where are both of the parents? What's going on there? Do they have playtime? Are they being socialized? Are they with people? Or are they locked up in cages? Because unfortunately, this is what people do. They breed dogs, lock them up in little cages, and they don't see people, and that's why they come out aggressive, and that's why they have so much trauma and so many issues. So that's a very important point to know, that you should get a dog from a reputable breeder. And once you get it from a breeder, then you can start the training. In terms of training, you can either train it by yourself with a trainer. Let's say once a week you meet with a trainer for 1 hour, and then they tell you what to do for the whole week. You train them. The following week you get tested on what you learned and what they didn't catch on to, and then you practice it one more time, and you go on and on and on. And that's one way to do it, which in my opinion, that's the best way. The second option is, if let's say you're working, you don't have time, so you can give your dog away to a trainer for a month and a half, and they can train it for you, and they can give you back the dog. And usually, if it's a good trainer, the dog knows what to do. Now, I get this question a lot: when does training stop? Training never stops. Never stops. Till the last day of your dog's life, that's going to be the last day of your training. Because with dogs if you don't continue to train them, it's not that they will forget, but they adapt to your living situation so quickly. So if you're not gonna keep up with all the training, they're gonna forget. Think about it this way: let's say at work you used to use a certain type of program, right? And imagine you stopped using it for 6 months or a year. You're going to get really rusty at it, right? Same thing with animals. You have to continue training. For example, my dogs don't get anything for free. Any type of treat or anything that they get, even a simple sit or a paw, that's the way they earn a treat, and that's what makes them amazing dogs. So that's the way you can get a trainer. You can definitely pay. It is very expensive to pay for a service like that. What I will tell you is, when you're training a dog, you're not only training a dog, you're also training yourself. I would say about 75% of training an animal is training the human. That's the most important takeaway, because think about it this way: we're humans, so many humans, right? We know how to interact with little babies, or we know how to interact with the young, right? But when we're dealing with animals, it's a completely different world. This is a big mistake also that people are doing, is they humanize animals. Animals are animals. They're not humans. So, for example, if I'm eating something and my dog is looking at me, showing me those puppy eyes and whining and crying, that's a problem. If I give my dog a cookie at that moment, I'm reinforcing that bad, negative behavior. So what I have to do is I have to take my dog, put it on the side, and say, stay. And I know it may look very, very mean, right? But it's really not. This actually shows the dog that, no, I'm alpha, I'm the pack leader, and you need to sit there because that's your place and this is my place. This is how dogs communicate. So number one thing that dogs want is to know that they have somebody, just like kids. Kids need to know that they have a disciplinarian in the house. They have a strong parent figure in the house, right? Same thing with dogs. They need to know that their owner is somebody that will always have their back. This is my 2 cents on what I think about getting a dog. Once again, if I shared something with you that spoke to you in a way where now you're thinking whether to get one or don't get one, I'm glad to be able to do this. Once again, it's something that I love to do. This is my passion. Animals can be an incredible addition to any family, but as long as you have the time, the patience, that's the most important takeaway. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Have a good night.